Hey everyone, welcome to the Down Level Podcast, episode 52. This week we go down the rabbit hole we always do and open Pandora's box. Let's just see where we go. All right, guys.
Can we talk about Mr. Satan for just a minute?
But why though?
Hold on.
Yeah. Well, there's so many whys with him. That's exactly the point.
What would you like to know?
Look, for any of the sins that Mr. Satan might carry in the Dragon Ball saga, they're completely forgiven by the fact that he voices the best character in Borderlands, which is Mr. Tord. I will literally, whenever the Mr. Tord
redemption for the
showed up
actor.
in Borderlands, I would just walk up to them and keep interacting with them until I could get the "Thanks for shopping our wares, you badass motherfucker." I was like, yes, I love this. Now go out there and kick the bad guys in the dick. Yeah. Man, nothing gets you pumped up to go out and just dump buckets and buckets of bullets and things than listening to that kind of stuff. That was great.
You know what? I'll see if I can send me I can find links to where people go and isolate those audio bits, and I can get all those audio bits. Because I am looking for fun stuff. I spent 3 hours creating dialogue for a future podcast episode with Gilbert Gottfried's voice. It's the Mortal Wombat episode, Vinny.
Oh, okay, yeah.
He's gonna be the lead wombat. So I created hours of dialogue that I've been piecing through to create the whole script for him.
Damn.
Gilbert Gottfried is gonna be a wombat who I'm trying to think of the right words. Basically, he does his own version of Mortal Kombat.
But with wombats.
Mortal Wombat. You know, and he gets the main characters, the gang, because he has beef with one of them. And because of his beef with one of them, the rest of them have to die. So he introduces them, instead of just outright killing them, he introduces them to Mortal Wombat.
Fair enough.
So, I mean, how many times I'm going to get to do my Mr. Satan voice on camera here? I've been doing it a lot lately with just some of the streams. It's funny because Gabriel has Yoshimitsu decked out as Kid Buu. So I'm like, all right, Majin Buu, come on, kick his butt. I can't even do his voice now, but I'm sitting there talking about it and I can't do it on camera. Well, for some reason I can, but I don't know.
I can't perform while I'm being watched.
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, these potential our friends are going to be watching this, and the new audience is going to be like, that doesn't much.
Here's what you do. If you're going to do it on camera, just announce, go use the Dana Carvey method. Even if he can get it right, he still announces who the character is before he does it. That way, if it's good or bad or whatever, people still get into it more.
Yeah.
See, the voice that I eventually kind of taught myself, and every time I hear it, I feel like I'm slightly off, but I have fun with it anyway because it absolutely grates on the wife's nerves, is Mr. Popo from Team 4 Stars dub of Dragon Ball, which is great.
Yes. Gotta give them.
Let's go over the pecking order. I'll tell you where they're not safe.
It's almost Tim Curry-ish. That's awesome.
Yeah.
What the hell is this? I don't know. It's weird. Just all the the random voices that I think, you know what? I wonder if I can do that. Let me see if I can. And that one, right? Like there's that one. There's some weird DLC that came out for Minecraft where this dude came on and just the way that he said Minecraft made me laugh. So I eventually tried to learn how to do his voice, and now I torment my daughter with that. So whenever I catch her playing Minecraft with a bunch of her friends, or she's not, actually it's when she's not playing Minecraft, I walk over to her, I'll be like, let me see if I can hit it. It's, well, Genevieve, I tell you what you're not doing. You're not over here playing Minecraft. What you should be doing is coming over here playing Minecraft is what you need to be doing. Come on now.
I gotta get you doing some. I gotta give you some lines doing that voice. Oh my god, that's brilliant. That's brilliant. I'm gonna send you some lines.
Fair enough.
I'll Oh, I think I have an idea for that voice. Oh man.
Could you imagine like freaking the actor who does Mr. Satan's voice doing like the whole like monologue from Demon Knight for Billy Zane's character?
With the Mr. Torg bleeps and all, I'd be
Yeah.
Yeah.
100%. You ho dunk, po dunk, damn there, motherfuckers.
See, I'm looking for a character right now for the one I'm about to start working on in the next episode. It's called the Velvet Rope. And basically the entire episode is them they're in line trying to get into this new exclusive club. And it's all random conversations. And every once in a while, you're going to have the guy at the door putting out these really bizarre lines. And I'm trying to find the right voice, the right character for that. So I think what David was just doing might.
The Minecraft guy.
Yeah, that's.
So, I was watching a video this week about like what was it voice actors who were let go for like stupid reasons.
Yeah.
And one of them was Billy Zane and how he was let go from freaking Kingdom Hearts for doing Ansem in the second game instead of the first. And how the fact that like what was it? He did this movie with I can't remember who the other actor was, and it was like very anti-American propaganda. And because of that, Disney and what was it? Somebody else, I think Square were like, nah, we can't have
Square
you
Enix.
come back to do the voice for I'm like, wow, okay.
Billy Zane, we know that you were in a movie where you were offering a man beers while he was surrounded by tons of topless women, but anti-Americanism, that's where we draw the line.
I mean, shit, you beat the crap out of Marty McFly and shoved him in a freaking back of a car. I mean, a trunk.
He was also the lead. Somebody dug up a lost Ed Wood script called I Woke Up Early the Day I Died.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. No dialogue in it. All visual. Billy Zane got the lead for it after like 50-something years of it just hiding. Brilliant movie. Fantastic. No dialogue whatsoever. It's just music and all visual storytelling. And I absolutely love it. I mean, it really shows off his ability to perform.
Nice.
So
I'll look that up.
I'll post a link to it. It took me a long time to find it. I mean, because it was at a point where I was actually contacting the Ed Wood estate looking for the script because nobody else even cared about it. Because I actually was in touch with Ed Wood's original lawyer for a long time, and then I'd had a few emails with his wife before she passed away. I was trying to find that script and another one called The Ghoul Goes West because I was going to try and do something with them. So,
yeah. So what were y'all doing this weekend? How's everything going?
I just found out I have 4 weeks of school left. I have 3 book reports and a 1,500-word essay I have to get done.
I don't miss those days.
Oh. And I am just like, because I just got on a nice groove where I'm 2 bits left away from finishing the 4th and final VOC. The AAS is running smooth. I've got decent numbers. It's shared all over the world. And I'm finally in a nice, comfortable place. And then Buzzsprout goes, oh, your shortest episode needs to be at least 23 minutes long for you to get monetization. What? The longest one I have is 15 minutes. And I'm thinking, that's practically a movie in our department. So I'm thinking, great. Now I got to come up with something that's at least 25 minutes so that I can attempt to get some kind of monetization on it.
Or if all you're making are like little bitty 15-minute shorts, you just have to compile them together. Yeah. And just be like, hey, like if you can string them together with some sort of vague theme, right, between them.
There's a theme. There's an ongoing. There are a couple of themes that are recurring as of last episode. The theme I started tying them together because there's there is one person behind everything that's going to happen as of episode 3. There's one person going to be behind everything. No matter what's getting tossed at them, there's going to be linkage. So they're going to be standalone episodes, but at the same time, there's going to be little Thanos type hits. So, and I'm using Gilbert Gottfried as one of the linkages.
There you go.
So the other one I'm doing is Lopan. Vinny got me onto the idea of using Lopan as an actual character, and he's going to be one of the wombats too.
Nice.
So the episode Mortal Wombat ought to be real fun because I have tons, and there's another one where I've gotten a bunch of DMX samples and sound bites. I don't know how I'm going to use them yet, but I said I got to get a bunch of DMX stuff, and I've got like 3 dozen clear DMX quotes and sayings for something. And
nice.
I have no clue what I'm going to do with that yet.
And that's part of the fun, right? And I think that's what I've heard some authors whenever they talk about like their processes and stuff. They actually just have that. They have like a notepad somewhere out there where they're going around one day and they think of an idea and they're like, well, this is like a half-formed idea. Let me put it down somewhere. And I think it was Sanderson who did that. Yeah. And they just go out there and they put down a bunch of random ideas. And then one day they'll sit there and they'll look through the ideas. They'll be like, oh, I can take this one and this one and go over. I think my favorite one of those where an author just took 2 random things. I think it was the basis for Jim Butcher's Codex Alera books, where he basically told some people, he's like, look, you can like take 2 random things and make a story out of just about anything. And somebody's like, okay, Roman centurions and Pokemon. And he went out and he wrote Codex Alera. And that's, I'm very like, I'm dumbing the story down quite a bit. But as I recall, that's what happened. Somebody just told him, they're like, all right, we'll go out and write a book about, Roman centurions using Pokemon. And so he went out and wrote, I think it was like four books, I want to say, for that.
I believe it was 5 total in the end.
Was it 5?
I think the 5th one took a long time because he was writing that in Dresden at the same time.
Yeah, now like Dresden's been taking a minute and then he's also got his new steampunk universe that he's only written 1 book for.
Oh, I gotta check that out. I heard that was coming. I haven't.
It's been out for a couple of years, I want to say. Something in the Windlass.
I'll have to check it out.
I haven't read it. It's been a minute since I touched Butcher stuff. I need to go back and catch myself up on Dresden. I kind of stopped reading Dresden because he got rid of Michael, which made me sad. He got rid of Michael and he replaced Michael with his annoying teenage daughter. And then he kept stripping people of the swords, right?
Yeah, and then a lot more of the coins showed up.
Them all to Murphy, and then Murphy used one for a hot second, and then she's like, "This isn't for me." But I've heard in one of the recent books, Butters is now one of the wielders of a sword.
Possibly, I think that came up in one of the short stories.
Okay,
because there was he did a bunch of short stories peppered through the whole thing, and then one of his last books that he released was the anthology of all those together, and they tied it together. And I think somewhere in there is where Butters got the sword.
See, as long as stuff is finally starting to progress, because I swear to God, there was like 3 books in a row where it was just like, yeah, there's like no Knights of the Cross anymore. Murphy's pretty much Dresden's got all the swords and he doesn't know what to do with them. I'm like, okay, fair. Then. Yeah. And then it's like, and then again, when Michael went down, I was like, no, he was such a cool character. Why? Why'd you have to take Michael down? I wanted to see him like do some more badass stuff.
Ghost Story was a really, was it Ghost? I think it was Ghost Story. It's Ghost something or other where he was actually dead through the whole book. Was it Ghost Story? And that one was really hard for me to get through.
I think I don't remember if Ghost Stories or if it's Ghost Stories or the one right after is when I kind of stopped reading Dresden for a minute.
I could see it being Ghost Story because I had to power through that book. I'm like, okay, this is a fun concept. He's dead. Who helped kill him? And then the big MacGuffin at the end was he actually had it done himself, and he's sitting there running alongside Murphy through most of the battle sequences, and he's doing his thing and she's doing her thing, and nobody knows what's going on. And then all of a sudden they're in this bunker, and it to me it sounded like some kind of weird desert beach D-Day thing, and I just couldn't grasp it completely. I was just like, man, what is this? And he kept saying, yeah, Justin's coming to an end. Fine. Here's all the short stories, still coming to an end. He's like 2 books away still.
Yeah.
Yeah. My God, man.
I haven't read
I mean,
it in
hey.
a while.
You haven't read a book in a while?
No.
Have you listened to a book in a while, though?
No, actually, that's the thing. Is like that's normally what I do is just listen to a book because it's all I have time for at work. But nope. I mean, like after Disney got a hold of Star Wars, all those books have been horrible now. And the last one I was reading was I think the 5th book in the newest remaining series, which is the zombie apocalypse with the dude that's part of the U.S. government. They're part of
Wait, Star Wars is doing zombies?
No.
Yeah, I was about to say you're not transitioning there. As you were talking more, I'm like, oh, he's talking about a different series.
Yeah, that's what I said. I said I ended my fact of Star Wars with I haven't read anything with Star Wars because it's all the stuff since Disney took over. And then I started reading. I mean, the only last thing I remember reading was
whatever that
the
is.
remaining.
Okay. I missed a couple of keywords there.
It's okay.
Don't worry, Colin. I missed them too. It took me a hot second. I was like, wait.
It's all right.
They're not doing zombies. And then I was like, oh, he's talking about something completely different. It's fine. Yeah, no.
Now,
I
gotta say, if Star Wars did zombies, I might tune in.
There is a book apparently that's out there that was like stormtroopers and the undead.
Why make stormtroopers zombies?
If I'm going to sit down and read a book about a bunch of space, basically space soldiers fighting zombies, I'll just go read Warhammer at that point. I'll go pick up something for 40K and read about,
that's fair.
Some Astartes taking down some Necrons or something, right? And that's a series I've seen so much of, and it seems like a really interesting world and history and all that to it. I just never read it. And I heard somebody say one time that a great jumping on point was the Horus Heresy. But I looked up the Horus Heresy. There you go. I looked up the Horus Heresy. That motherfucking storyline is 50 books long. I'm like, no, sir. No, sir. I need a trilogy. Give me 3 solid books that I can go in and read about some Astartes chapter doing some awesome stuff, fending off a world from orcs or something about the Death Corps of Krieg or something like that, right? Something that I can sit down and knock out and not have to spend the next 3 years of my life trying to come through. That stuff I just can't do. So that's kind of why I've stayed away from 40K. Instead, I've been reading a pretty cool little military sci-fi book series called Galaxy's Edge, which is not Star Wars. It's another group that made it. The first book is very much more military than sci-fi, and then the second book they start adding in their version of the Sith, and so you have kind of space magic while at the same time you have crazy sci-fi nonsense going on. And that one's been really enjoyable. I've been liking that. Outside of that, the last zombie book that I read was a pretty cool series called X Heroes, which was a series of books, which is it was basically, hey, this guy created all of his own superheroes, so it's not based on any specific heroes. They're living in a zombie apocalypse, and they're in some California city, and they're just trying to survive. But what's kind of cool about the story is one of the main antagonists is this gang leader who can project his mind into zombies, right? So at any point you're fighting a mindless horde, and then all of a sudden they'll start becoming intelligent because it's this dude taking them over and attacking with them, right? And the concepts to it are really cool. How the zombie outbreak starts once you find out about it is a pretty cool and interesting idea and a different kind of take on things. Yeah, if you haven't read that one, I would definitely say go out and try X Heroes. I think it's Peter Klein, I think is the author for it. But those are some pretty interesting books.
Well, because like back to the one I was talking about, the remaining, it's basically there's 52 coordinators that are set up for the U.S. government just in case the end of the world happens, so they can
Okay.
rebuild America. And they have each of them have these houses that have underground bunkers that are designed to survive the apocalypse. And it just follows this one dude who basically loses contact with his team after shit goes down, and just how he just kind of like goes through this process of like finding survivors, dealing with marauders, and dealing with the zombies, and yeah, it's really good.
Cool. To go back to your Star Wars Death Troopers thingy there for a second, I don't know. I got questions. I have questions.
I've never
First
read
of
it,
all,
so I don't know.
how much worse could they of a shot could they possibly be? And second of all, okay, if there's zombies in stormtrooper things, how are they going to be zombies? They're just going to be gnawing on the inside of a helmet forever, and whatever teeth are left are going to eventually just fall out. I mean,
I know.
and you hear these little plastic, it's like when you have rats for the first time and they're gnawing through the wood trying to get into your house. That's what it's going to sound like when they're coming up at you with those stormtrooper helmets on, with guns just going, more random than usual.
Wouldn't you think that like stormtrooper armor in general would be better against like zombies anyway because of the material it's made out of? I mean, how is a zombie going to bite through that plastic?
Thing is, exactly.
Cheap
But at the same
plastic.
time, it's still inefficient because Han and Luke would always shoot them, even with the most brief contact, and they would fall over and go bowling each other over.
Could you imagine?
So-
Could you imagine a zombie stormtrooper where his face is out? He always misses biting you. It's like, hey, dude, I'm over here.
Yeah, it's like
That's
only
the-
this much of his mouth is showing the whole time.
See, that's where that X Heroes did two pretty cool things. So there were two characters in it. One of them is basically is their version of Iron Man, but it's this chick who she was a part of a experimental governmental program, right? So she pilots a mecha, right? And she's just a big ass walking tank. And she was wading through and fighting off this horde of zombies, trying to buy time for other people to get out and escape. And then her mech lost power, and so she's in the middle of this horde in this mech, unable to get out, unable to do anything because it's lost power. And all she's doing is for like days just hearing the horde all around her. And then if I remember right, this world's version of Dr. Manhattan, but not but he's not like, he can't like see the future and the past and all. He's just a being of pure energy, right? Negative, right? Negative man, right? That he can project a version of himself out that's pure energy. And
Negative Man is actually a separate entity that comes out of him,
okay,
a cosmic being. Anyway,
well, roughly more or less that, right? And so he flies out and just toasts all the zombies, re-energizes her. But what's funny is there's a moment where like they use the energy dude as basically their perpetual power battery for the little civilization they live in. And whenever the horde starts getting too much, they'll like decouple him and send him out, and he'll just fly through because he's energy, so they can't bite him. But whenever he comes back, they'll talk to him and they basically say, "Why don't you just fly through the entire city and wipe out all the zombies?" And he's like, "You don't understand. Flying through essentially people, he's like, the feeling of it is the most disgusting sensation. He's like, I can't even really describe to you what it feels like." And it's like, that's kind of a neat idea. Like, if you were a being of pure energy and you were to fly through a person, A, what does it feel like most of the time? And B, what on earth would that feel like to have you go through organic matter, right?
yeah, especially dead organic matter.
Could like, so the lightning gremlin from Gremlins 2, I mean, he experienced that.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah.
So it reminds me, so another zombie thing, that I remember reading back in the day was was called. It wasn't really. It wasn't. It was an audio drama, basically, and it's called We're Alive, and it's about three Army Reserve guys that end up hunkering down in a an apartment building, like one of like a something downtown where it's got like a bunch of different stories, and then all the different survivors they encounter, and they like build this big group up, and they fight these. There's the zombies, and then there's like these different versions of zombies, like they're mutating. It's really good.
Huh. That's one thing I've always wondered about zombie movies. I mean, yeah, I get the concept of, okay, this chemical makes the dead undead, and these ones can do this, but if they're decaying, how are they able to run and climb and jump and
Well, they shouldn't be able
moving
to.
on,
It depends on the universe of zombies we're talking about. Are we talking about the George Romero? It was a meteorite that reenacted the dead, and anybody who died from a bite came back.
Yeah.
Those don't run. They just happen to gang up on you and then take you down. And
yeah, I mean,
it's the number.
To me, that was always the most plausible.
If it's 28 days or 28 days later, it's
not zombies.
It's not zombies. They're rage. They're infected with a rage virus.
Okay.
Because eventually, if you let them be, they're eventually going to starve, and their bodies are going to decay on them, and they're not going to be any kind of threat at all.
Well, I was about to say they won't really decay. They'll just starve because it's their metabolism is like heightened through the roof, right? So they need to be constantly eating.
Yeah, they would be eating themselves as far as like their bodies.
Yeah. It'd be like a cancer.
Then you got what? Dawn of the Dead remake, where they're super fast at the beginning of the infection, if they're turned from a zombie, not like if they were dead and reanimated. I don't know why. That was weird, but that was also Zack Snyder in his early days, and it was a good movie up until the point of let's go save the guy at the gun store.
Hey man, they were just trying to get their buddy. They weren't going to abandon him, dude. Right?
No.
So
you have remote control helicopters and cars in that place that you could literally just fly the helicopter over. Or I'm pretty sure there was an archery store. You could have tied some rope, like long rope, and shot it across, and just created this like pulley system. I mean, come on, the process for this could have been endless of how we could have not had them all overrun by zombies because we couldn't find a better way to have the zombies overtake them all.
Right. All right. So on the concept of running zombies fast from the start, let's put that into context with real people, like Usain Bolt, like the fastest recorded man alive. Give him the zombie thing. Now, granted, he might be slower, but he's still the fastest man alive in the world.
Oh, so instead of going like this.
Yeah, he'd still be faster than the other zombies, and he'd have a pretty good chance of catching you.
He just jerks really fast.
That's frightening. And then there's what's his fuck there? The guy, he had the both legs were and white, the South African guy, and he ended up
Blade Runner?
Huh? The Blade Runner. What was his that? I don't know,
but yeah, the guy who supposedly killed his wife, but
he shot his girlfriend through the bathroom because he didn't know who it was. Yeah, and he ended up doing jail time for it. Yes, that guy.
I think he got off.
No, he did. He did a little bit of time.
Crazy.
There's a crime and sports episode on him. I just can't remember his name at the moment.
I mean,
yeah, but you give a zombie who can run those kind of legs where they're not going to deteriorate as long as the connection around the connection point is great. But it brings to mind that okay, zombies manage to get up out of the ground and stuff like that. Their feet are going away and everything like that. But if they happen to be with a prosthetic or something like that, or really good on the nubs, they might have a little bit of speed in them. You know, these are weird things that I think about.
In order to use the prosthetics, you would also need to have at least some sort of sense of balance, right?
Yeah.
Do zombies have a sense of balance?
Or our knowledge of how to use it after a period of time. I mean, hell, these guys are brain dead. It's like, okay.
Well, apparently some of them do. I mean, they know how to be careful around going around corners and in some of these movies. I mean, there's no central playbook for zombie movies. I guess that's my problem.
That's what I mean, but that's what makes them fun, right? I mean, that's the way you inject life into any of these monsters, right? Is by taking the general idea of them and tweaking the rules just enough to where they're still the monster, but now what you thought you knew isn't true anymore, right?
Yeah.
Right.
So that's what makes it kind of cool. It was like there was a really cool Hammer film. It was one of the Dracula ones. It wasn't one of the ones with Peter Cushing. I want to say that Christopher Lee was still playing Dracula in it. But the main protagonist of that movie was an atheist. And so because he was an atheist, all the religious symbols, when he tried to use them against Dracula, didn't work because he had no faith in them.
Right.
So it gave it kind of a weird, interesting dynamic of, every single vampire story always has, the crosses and religious symbols. They're able to throw at the vampires to stave them off for a little bit. And here, this guy didn't have that. And I forget what it was that he eventually did to beat Dracula, but it was like, it was just kind of an interesting concept, right? An interesting twist to put on that classic role for it, right?
Could you think about that of like, so there's a movie, Eric the Viking, the fact that there's the one guy that believes in a god and Christianity and everybody else believes in Norse gods. He doesn't see shit. He's like, anytime they go into like Valhalla and all this other stuff, and it's like, what is all this? I don't see anything. It's just a dark void. But could you imagine like Hellraiser being that way? Someone who doesn't believe in like hell.
Well,
this is a cool puzzle. I mean,
but the Cenobites aren't. When you get into Clive Barker, man, you get into some weird ass territory.
Yeah, but if you don't believe in it, I mean, it doesn't have any power, right?
That's not how the Cenobites work.
It's like they're like, the dude does the box. He's like, oh, this is a cool puzzle. Nothing happened. Everybody around him who believe in what's going on is like, holy shit, you opened some kind of fucking portal, and they come in, and like he's like, why is all my friends like dying or they're disappearing? I don't understand.
Yeah. Yeah, now that would be a movie I would pay money to go see.
Yeah, I mean,
the guy is just sitting there, all of a sudden his friends are just dropping dead, and it's like 90 minutes of just nothing, and then just friends dropping dead. It's like staying in the reality version of Nightmare on Elm Street, not seeing any of the dream world stuff. All of a sudden, your friends are dead inside the waterbed.
Yeah,
but very nature, right? But if he's if we're going off that premise. That someone went open the box, right? And after they do the the lament configuration, right? Once they're the ones who figure out the lament configuration, but for whatever reason, because of their agnosticism, they don't experience the Cenobites. But for some reason, the Cenobites go after the people around them who had nothing to do with the lament configuration.
Right.
I mean, I guess the
guilt by association,
huh?
Guilt by association.
Yeah.
Well, no, where I was about to go with it is at a certain point you have to establish like how are they not aware at all of what that thing that they did was, right? Because like the second you do it and then someone's like, oh man, you shouldn't have done that thing summons evil, right? And then he watches as that dude is like ripped apart in front of him by some unseen force. At that moment, some tiny fragment of that belief of, man, what I just did summoned evil filters into your brain, right? And at that moment, is that amount of belief enough to where now you start seeing hints of the Cenobites like in the corners of your vision, right? Slowly haunting you.
I guess if you know about them, maybe he's like, holy shit, this box is awesome. This is like Death Note. I just make this thing
and
people are dying.
But see,
Or
but
they're
then-
extremely
but then you start
stupid.
believing it. But then you start believing it, and if we're saying once you believe in the lament configuration, then the power within, like, as long as you believe that there's a power in the puzzle box, then you are believing in whatever it is that it represents, and then you open yourself to the Cenobites.
Right. Unless you have like an IQ of 60 and just know, okay, I do this, it does this.
But that's still
No, that's understanding cause and effect. That's not belief or faith.
Correct. Exactly.
See, now if you have some
Because if
hillbilly
you're
with an
not-
IQ of 50,
Yeah.
okay, he's like, I make it turn people die. That could be a toy to them.
Yeah.
You illiterate of
There's a movie right here, man. This is a total movie. We could totally write this movie and make it.
No, because
watch this. I can make them twist and
We're
turn.
gonna come up with the Predator, where it's the Predator versus autism, right? That's what this is going to be. This is what you're talking about. You're talking about Cenobites versus autism. That's where you're going.
No.
No, because it doesn't have to be
Autism has
Cenobites.
a greater spectrum than that.
Yeah, I mean,
We're talking about functioning illiterate people.
Yes.
Okay, that's an entirely different thing from autism.
Mhm.
So,
That's entirely
so
different from the
TikTokers.
spectrum.
So you're talking about TikTokers then? Some idiot on TikTok goes and figures out the lament configuration, and then the camera pans over and you see like some person like get instantly ripped apart, right? It's like,
That
oh,
actually,
man.
yeah, that
Well, considering we had that guy on TikTok that sat there or whatever it was and lit that Pikachu firework on his bed and just was like freaking out because of it. It's like, what did you think was going to happen?
yeah. I mean, we
It was
we
going
had
to
a
the confetti.
Not that.
we had kids eating Tide Pods.
Yeah, dude.
It's not beyond the realm of
yeah,
impossibility.
So, okay. And my brain's broken now. I'm trying to think of how we can do this.
Are you trying to write what was it? Basically, the movie Pulse meets Hellraiser. Is that what you're doing?
Okay. It's about a YouTuber that loves puzzles, right? So he gets the box and he does this puzzle, and like, I mean, it's kind of, I guess, what, In the Mouth of Madness, because you got to read the book and watch the movie for Cthulhu to take over the world.
Yeah, I mean,
If everybody sees the limit configuration on YouTube, that means that all the Cenobites just show up in everybody's houses who is watching it.
But see, I always understood it that the Cenobites only show up to those who summon them, and the only way to summon them is through the configuration, right? I haven't watched every Hellraiser movie because after 2, the quality drop off is immense, right? It gets bad after that, so I kind of stopped watching them. But that's the way I always understood it. So just the act of watching the lament configuration get completed doesn't necessarily mean that pinheads in everyone's house.
So if you're a weird, messed up dude, right, and you had the ticket from Last Action Hero, you just jumped over to the thing, took the dog from that, did the configuration, have the dog affect the Cenobites. Did they become the thing then? Does it affect them?
oh, Thingabites.
Thingabites, yeah.
See,
I
now
mean,
there's something right there.
Yeah.
So,
I mean,
what we've never seen is whether or not. So now you're getting into, can the thing mimic mutations? And in this case,
Is it organic?
like
Yes.
outright demon possessions?
Yeah.
Hmm.
I mean,
Maybe.
So-
no, because not quite possession. Okay, and I can speak to this topic. It's not quite possession because it's not an ethereal or otherworldly being. It's an actual physical thing that mimics it. Now, as long as it's an organic being, regardless of what type it is, it can replicate it.
Yep.
Sure, but the Cenobites' abilities are a ethereal thing to begin with, right? Like,
Right.
they're
But-
they're opening portals to another dimension to summon chains to rip you apart. So
okay.
the thing we're able to get itself on, like, we're able to absorb Pinhead somehow. I don't know that his powers would necessarily transfer with. I mean, technically, the thing would have all the knowledge of Pinhead. So
Yeah, it would.
I guess
It would. Yep.
I guess it would stand to reason that it would then therefore understand how to manipulate Pinhead's abilities. But I don't know. It's an interesting concept. Like for stuff that's simple, right? Like if the thing were to make its way into, the X mansion, it would definitely be replicate all of the mutant powers, right? You could 100% have that. But once you start getting to like the mystic realm, that's when it starts turning into, well, I don't know.
Yeah.
Like just because the thing eats Yoda, does it mean that it carries his midichlorian count? And if it does, does that mean that every subsequent thing, as it transforms and mutates and replicates, also has Yoda's
Oh,
count?
oh, that's an interesting idea.
Well, Matt,
If it got Yoda's, all right.
Yeah,
If it got Yoda's, even if it got like a fraction of Yoda's midichlorian count, each mutation would increase, and eventually it would get there.
Well, would it increase or would it dilute?
No, because the thing is that with
Mutation
the creature,
increases
with the
with the thing.
creature, it just needs a little bit of one cell to be able to replicate whatever it's trying to mimic. And on top of that, which is established in the other, each when it changes and it does its attack posture, it's just an amalgam of whatever it's grabbed. So, or had in contact with. You think about it, anything it touches, it can get the DNA structure for, it can replicate and put it into itself for whatever attack or whatever. And I don't know. This is the whole thing of like, if you were the villain from Last Action Hero, what his plan was. Let's see if we can keep going down this rabbit hole of jumping into different movies and affecting different creatures or bosses or monsters.
I don't know.
All right,
Concept.
I got one.
The concept of a Sith Lord Cenobite with like Cyclops's,
Optic blast
is a fairly terrifying concept.
All right, let's add to that. Somewhere along the way, we discussed opening portals and dimensions because of the bites, right? Now, if it can open up, we're talking multiverse at that point. That opens up a whole new ball of whatever, okay? Because eventually you can tie that into like the Marvel stuff, and you can tie that into Cloverfield, where they established that the space station created the rift and the time space shift that brought the Cloverfield monster to Earth in the first place. The prequel,
yeah,
they established that what they did on that space station was create a rift where it opened it up where those things were there and brought one of them through. So, in theory, if this, whatever we're going to call this monster at this point, because we've already established it has just scary amounts of power, brings through something like a Cloverfield monster, not only can it replicate the little things it spits off, but if enough of them get a hold of enough of the Cloverfield monster, that's bad news.
See, that's the problem with compounding power, right?
Yeah.
You so easily begin to outclass everything you could possibly come up against.
so
it starts getting ridiculous. Like
Right.
my brother told me the other day about the most recent like chapter of Dragon Ball, right? Where Frieza has taken on a brand new form because he went and stayed.
He found another hyperbolic time chamber that allows him to train for 10 years.
And he comes out and one-shots both Goku and Vegeta at max power. And I'm literally like, whenever he told me that, I was like, okay, we are reaching ridiculous levels of power in Dragon Ball, where like at this point, Vegeta being a god of destruction and Goku like being straight up an angel isn't even going to be enough anymore. It's going to end like what I told my brother. I was like, look, at this rate, Dragon Ball is going to end with some weird fusion dance, like trifecta fusion dance, where it's going to be God of Destruction of Vegeta, Angel Goku, and like Rainbow Frieza coming together to create some kind of like tri-headed godlike character to go fight the the entropy of the universe that is just the shadow cast by Akira Toriyama's bank account, right? Like that's what Dragon Ball is going towards.
Flag that on the time, man. That's brilliant. That was brilliant.
So, okay, because there's other characters like that, like the Thing in other media, but some have more sentient thought processes. So, for one, for me to think of is like Aptum from Guyver. You know, he was originally a lost unit. He was not considered a full-on Zoonoid or Zoolord, but with him absorbing different Zoonoids, he became more powerful and not being able to be controlled by the Zoolords. And you know, you think about that. You got that character that can literally just touch anything and absorb part of it and adapt it to his makeup. So, you know, what happens when that gets on a Saiyan?
Yeah.
What happens when that and the Thing get in a tangle? They're absorbing each other all day long.
Yeah, whoever has the most will, I guess, can control over that. The strongest will, anyway.
That would just turn into like a giant blob at some point. An angry, pissed off giant blob.
So it would be the amoeba thing from what was it? Evolution. We just need head and shoulders to take it out.
Seems about right.
Yeah.
Throw it on Jupiter or some shit.
All right. Yeah.
Well, speaking of, what would be an item that you would, if you had the ticket from Last Action Hero, what item would you grab from any movie? And I know David's answer, but I'm just gonna let him ponder that for a moment.
I mean, it's pretty obvious. I'm gonna go get the ring, right? I'm gonna go get the ring. I'm gonna go get the battery. I'm gonna go join the Corps because that'd be awesome.
Yeah, you're gonna go in there, get the ring. No, I'm Hal Jordan. You're just some comedian playing him, and you're gonna right the wrong of that movie.
Right. I just sit there and be like, look, trust me, you're gonna be just fine. Go do Deadpool. Forget about this one. Just go do Deadpool and you'll be all right. Don't worry about it. You'll be good.
Movie. I don't know. I think I'd be having too much fun in Mel Brooks movies to try and even figure out what it is I was going to do next. I would just that's my weakness. I would end up in a Monty Python or a Mel Brooks movie, and I would just become lost. Shiny objects all the way across the board for me on that one. I honestly, I don't know.
So I get from David's going to go get something that's going to alter his life to become a superhero for our world.
Right.
Colin's going to go and live in the Monty Python
or Mel Brooks
universes to just enjoy the last remaining years of his life. I'd want the Guyver unit. That's what I would want, because I mean, I could be able to heal myself. I can have this awesome armor. You know, it's even if I get like wounded and stuff, my body would grow back. But I'd probably also find a way to learn how to heal, and like you know, so I can heal my dad.
Right. All right. Let's go on. Let's define the parameters a little bit, because each of you have clarified that you would get something. Now, is it we can just get something and we have to leave, or can we stay? Because if we can't stay, then I have to pick something.
I wouldn't want to stay. I'd want to come back home with whatever I brought.
Colin, it kind of depends on how much you love your family and the world that you're in right now. I mean, if you're totally good with abandoning everybody here, then have at it. But if you like feel any kind of need, you know what? People might need or miss me. I should probably come on back. But hey, here's a pretty cool trinket I'll bring with me.
All right, we'll go with that.
In that case, I'm staying in those Mel Brooks movies.
I don't know. Bring back Mighty Joint, maybe.
Well, could you think about?
Oh no. I think I could narrow it down to maybe something out of either Jekyll and Hyde together again and get his formula for becoming Mr. Hyde, or something out of League of Extraordinary Gentlemen.
The portrait of Dorian Gray, instead of just making yours.
Yeah. That's it. That's it. As long as that portrait stays hidden, you're eternal.
Oh, could you imagine grabbing that sarcophagus from Stargate, the one that you can just sit in and it heals you, or wishing or getting not wishing but getting the Enterprise here and just changing the technology of the world like in an instant.
Yeah.
Cure world hunger and medical procedures, probably cure cancer, just all these things that would benefit, but then they would get a bunch of wars fought over this thing.
Yeah, but that's just it. Then the governments would come in and try and seize it from you. Of course, you'd be in the Enterprise.
So you'd be in space.
Zap.
The Enterprise to conquer everybody.
You'd be in space. What are they going to do?
You want this, huh? Well, let me see. Let me beam you aboard. Oh, I'm losing you in signal. Whoopsie.
See, that's the thing that doesn't see enough play in sci-fi movies when it comes to one group being terrestrial, the other one being celestial. Is the ultimate weapon of any spaceship for a terrestrial site is just a big ass rock, right? You have a big ass rock and you have computers that can calculate, like, okay, if I drop it in the atmosphere here at this speed, at this rate, at this angle, I can pinpoint where I want that to strike, and that's going to do so much damage. It costs you nothing, right? All you got to do is go out to the asteroid belt, grab some rocks, haul them back, stick them on the moon if you want, and then just go over and pick one up and go over and be like, all right, who's starting shit now? Oh, you? I'm just going to basically nuke your city with a rock. Boom, and there it goes. That was what drove me nuts about Avatar, right? James Cameron's Avatar. I was like, you guys have spaceships. They have one city. Just go up into space, grab something. You have the computers, you have the technology. Just drop something on their ass, and then you're done. Don't do the stupid fight in the weird magnetic bullshit area. Just go take a rock and drop it on their dumb ass, and you're done.
Yeah.
I mean, did we not learn anything from Aliens? Dust off and nuke the site from orbit.
That's right. That's right. And again, you don't even have to nuke it. Just drop a rock on it.
Yeah, because you don't have all the fallout. You just have the indention of the crater that's created. But then again, you just shoved all that unobtainium that they've been to that planet for just deeper and deeper into the ground.
I mean,
it literally becomes unobtainium at that point.
All right, at under David's premise, I would want to see what else I could get away with dropping, and see what kind of damage we would do. Like, let's take the premise from Armageddon, where Billy Bob Thornton he was talking about things being the size of like Volkswagens and stuff. I want to see what happens when you drop a Volkswagen from space. Does it completely burn up and crumple, or does it hit the ground at such a crazy speed that it actually can take out the Tower of London?
I mean, so
I want to know these things now.
Like that's small. I mean, yeah, I'll probably burn up that's why you got to make sure that. But again, you have computers that can apparently calculate jumps through space. I'm pretty sure they can do a fairly simplistic calculation of how much mass do I need to make it through the atmosphere of this planet and strike this place to level it and turn it into just a crater, right? Yeah. I'm pretty sure someone on that ship can run that calculation pretty easily.
It's fair. That's totally fair.
We're just seeing how evil David is.
It's just one of those. It's just one of those things where it's. I heard about it once upon a time. Somebody was telling me. I was just trying to look it up. I think it's called "The Moon is a Harsh Mistress" by Robert Heinlein, where that's basically the concept. There's like a colony that lives on the moon, and the Earth and the moon are in kind of issue with each other. But the whole time, the moon's just like, look, if you guys start shit, we're just gonna fling rocks at you, and you're done. And so, yeah, I mean, that's just it. And that's where it's like so much of this stuff is so silly. It's like, if you can be in space and you have the technology to overcome like light speed travel and do those calculations, you don't need to bombard a planet with anything other than just
Rocks.
space junk.
So what would happen if you were to go warp 9 through the planets?
Go full. Star Wars.
It'd be a sacrifice. It'd be a suicide mission.
You can just go a life pod, right? Because like all the life pods have FTL drives now.
Mhm.
Yes.
So just go full Star Wars: The Last Jedi and FTL a pod right into a planet. It's done, right? You crack that sucker.
Yeah, so what was it? I mean, the thing too with like the reason why, like, I would, I guess, pick the Enterprise is because you think about it. You need to know how to fly it. But there's computers on there that could teach you
Right.
how to fly it. Versus like, oh, I want the YF-19 for Macross Plus. I want to be able to have this, be able to fly it and transform it and everything. I have no knowledge of it. And if anything that my dad's taught me is like, if you have technology you don't understand, you need to learn how to use it because you're going to get your ass crushed inside of it when it transforms.
Right. All right. Let me go back and maybe reconsider my answer. If I didn't get Dorian's portrait, I would want one of the cycles from Next Generation, where I could ride it around, recharge the batteries, suit up if I needed it, ride around some more.
You're gonna have to have like a lifetime supply of protoculture, right? That was the
Well, obviously, if you're going to be able to go in and get the bike, you're going to be able to go at least get a good supply to start with.
yeah. No, it wasn't it wasn't protoculture. That was what it was called in Robotech. It was
Yeah.
Robotechnology. That's great job there, Harmony Gold writing.
Yeah, just
Hey,
lazy script writing.
on par with unobtainium. Like in terms of, man, we really need to name our futuristic super space material, and it's really hard to obtain. What should we call it? I don't know. Unobtainium? Like,
Yeah.
really? Is that
All right. And that ties all the way back into my 50 IQ redneck going, it's unobtainium.
I mean, James Cameron took what, a decade to write that garbage?
And he could be doing
Insert James Cameron theme
he
there.
could be doing Aliens sequel.
No.
He could have been doing a Terminator Future War movie, but no,
he
signed
off on the term Dark Fate, right? Was it Dark Fate was the one that
movie was the worst.
He just let it happen. He let it happen.
All they did, they backed up a truck to his house that was just filled with money, and they said, "Hey James, we need to get a soundbite from you, and then this truck is yours." And he's like, "Sweet, what do you need me to say?" And they're like, "Here's your lines," and he just read them off. But he did a good job of selling it. It's like, yeah, this is the greatest Terminator movie since the ones I made.
At least
that's a very high bar to clear.
At least he got the money before the movie flopped. So I guess
Yeah, they just
learned.
Man, that poor guy. I was hearing talk. What he recently did an interview not that long ago, where he basically hasn't been able to get work since Dark Fate. I was like, that sucks for you, dude. I'm sorry to hear that, but
okay. So you guys have heard the thing about with Kenobi, right? That it was officially announced that originally it was supposed to be Luke. The whole story was supposed to be Luke. Yeah, it was supposed to be Luke, not Leia.
Yeah, the whole reason why he's actually supposed to be there.
Yeah.
Yes. So, and the fact that like Kathleen Kennedy wants to do another universe what if it was Leia who was the Luke Jedi, not Luke Skywalker, and have the instead of Han Solo, it's a female Han Solo. Dude, I'm like, I don't understand. I don't like you doing that is just going to put a nail in Star Wars and it's done.
Just go look if you want to go if you want to go and make an awesome female character, just go tell.
Do it, yes, do it.
Right, just like go find an actual Star Wars character that exists that people love and there's a fan base for, and go do their story. So to the topic of that, and going back to zombies, right? Like it was just recently announced that. Hold on, I'm getting there.
Okay.
Right, the Resident Evil Netflix series, right? They've officially said we're
It's over.
done.
Yes, it's
Right?
Yeah.
It's over. No, we ain't going back to this. And it's like I think about that. I think about that show again, and I think about stuff like
I'm sorry.
Sandman. So, and I think about like Sandman, where everyone wants to point to like Lance Reddick apparently came out and was saying that the reason why Resident Evil failed was because of all the haters, and they just didn't understand what we were trying to do. And it's like, look, guys, it's really simple. All people want to do is see this. Like, people have been waiting for the story of Resident Evil to be told in a film format forever, right? Like, you have the games, you have stories, and then like shit like Welcome to Raccoon City comes out where Leon's a bumbling, fumbling moron. It's like, how are you taking these characters, changing them, and just deviating so far from them that they're no longer the characters that they were? Whereas I point to stuff like Sandman, right? Where Sandman, even though it race swapped and gender swapped a lot of characters, Death still mostly felt like Death. Like my comment before, I kind of thought in my mind that she should be a little bit more playful, but overall, she felt like Death. Lucian looks nothing like Lucian, but still behaves like Lucian, right? Like, and the stories tell the actual story that people have been waiting decades to see. And so now you're getting to see the stories that you read before. Yeah, there's little bitty tweaks and things to it, but generally, overall, the main story points and things that people have wanted to see, here they are on the screen. And that's why there's so many people that are going and saying, man, Sandman's great. It's awesome. There's all this cool stuff in it because they're seeing the comics come to life.
Mhm.
Resident Evil, if you don't do Resident Evil, if you don't do that story, then people are going to look at it and say, but why? Why though? Why are you doing this? It was like
Exactly.
Halo. Let's go tell the story of Halo, but make it nothing about actual Halo. We're just going to use the character names and some of the things and just kind of mix it together and shake it, and here you go. That's not the way you're supposed to do it. If you want to print money, if you want to do good, tell the stories that people want to hear. If you go out there and get Michael B. Jordan to be Chris Redfield, just have him take his shirt off and people will love it. But have him be Chris Redfield.
That would work.
If you give us a Resident Evil show where this thing shows up that's wearing an apron, that its right arm is like hugely deformed and has a giant eyeball, it's like dragging around a chainsaw, and you tell me that's Tyrant, I'm gonna and as it's walking around it mumbles stars, and you tell me that's Tyrant, I'm gonna say you're a fucking liar and that's not Tyrant. What are you doing? It's like, why are you doing just tell the story that exists. If you want to tweak it, go ahead, but don't go that far. Keep it to where people will recognize it, and if they recognize it, then they will come to it and they will tell other people, hey guys, guess what? They actually almost did it. They're 95% of the way there, and it actually doesn't suck.
I mean, considering the fact that, like, oh, we put all the monsters you guys like about it. That's not the reason most of us like that freaking thing. It's like because we want the characters that draw us in.
It's like they have the wrong idea, right? It's like back in the day when there was that I remembered hearing about this. I've never seen it. I would love to see this game. But back when the Satanic Panic and all that stuff was going on, right?
Okay.
You had a Christian group that went out and tried to make their own RPG to compete with Dungeons and Dragons. But they completely misunderstood why people went to Dungeons and Dragons. They thought that the kids that were playing it did it because they liked math. And they made their version of the game the most like crazy calculus heavy bullshit on the face of the earth. And it never went anywhere because no one actually went to Dungeons and Dragons because they liked doing the arithmetic. They went there because of the world that it created and the stories you could tell and all that. So it's like this fundamental misunderstanding of why people are coming to these IPs to be entertained by them. It's not because, oh, hey, guys, look, it's zombies and, this other thing that you saw from the games. It's like, no. We would like to see the story, right? The characters, And again, they don't have to be pitch perfect on everything, but you at least have to not completely abandon what the character was.
Wow.
And
That's another short.
Yeah. This whole episode's been filled with nothing but shorts, and sadly it's all David.
What?
I'm trying.
You're all good, man. No. The for one, we got I wanted to did want to talk about one D&D, the next D&D
Yes.
expansion. But it's just sad because you guys, we have people out there that don't know their audience. They don't understand who they're catering to. And they're hoping that they're going to get these new fans in, and they're going to be dedicated. And I thought about it. You think about Star Wars, right? We had what, 30 years? I'm not 30 years. We had like 20 something years between,
like 27, right?
Yeah. And so we had this long time of us loving it, the comics and the movies, the video games, the books, and it just kept expanding and making it better. Then, we got the prequels, and it added more into it. It brought more love, more dedication, more fans in. It didn't go, screw you, old fans. Here's this, and just accept it because this is what it is. No, it was like, this is just something extra, something for us to enjoy and continue that love. And that it went on for a little while. And then we got Disney getting a hold of Star Wars. And they're like, you know what? Fuck the dedicated fans that will give us money regardless because it's Star Wars and it's been great stuff. We're going to tell our own trash and only care about the new fans that are going to come in. So the cash cow, the guaranteed money that of fans that are just going to give you money because you're making great Star Wars content. You're like, no, screw you. I want this random people over here to jump in and enjoy this. And if you don't like this, people who give us money, well, we're going to make fun of you online because, that's what we do. Why?
I mean, and the sad thing is that they could, like, if they had just divested themselves of the original canon far enough, right? They could have told those stories they wanted to tell. But you didn't have to show Han. You didn't have to show Luke. You didn't have, if you wanted to tell the story of Rey and Poe and Finn, then go tell their stories and don't tie it to those original groups. Go do what KOTOR did, right? Go so far
1,000 years in the past
away from the stuff that people like, but you still that away you're not tied to any canon, right? You're not beholden to this expectation for people, right? You're not putting names on this thing to where now you're giving these people ideas of, oh man, we're gonna get to see this thing, but then when it doesn't show up, they get pissed off. Instead, you can just tell the story you want to tell, but at the same time, your story needs to be thought out and cohesive, right? Like that's also what killed the sequel trilogy. Like I've said before, I came out of Force Awakens going, well, that was okay, but hopefully the next one they'll do some interesting things with. Little did I know what I was wishing for, and then I came out of the second one and I was like, so you just took a blowtorch to, bigger than a blowtorch, you took a friggin' flamethrower to everything the previous movie set up and made the next movie, whoever's taking over that one's got a pain, it has a whole bucket of shit that they got to try and sift through to make sense of this movie, to even tie this thing up in any kind of cohesive way.
I would add the fact that it's like you went and blew up your boss's house and it showed up for work the next day expecting to get paid.
Yeah.
You just killed your source of income and you expect everything to be okay.
Yeah.
Because there were so many little things, right? Like characters that just get introduced, don't do anything, and like Holdo, right? Admiral Holdo. Here she is, this big admiral, and she shows up and she doesn't really do anything, and she just kind of stands around and says, I've got a plan. I'm just not going to tell you anything about it. and y'all all suck, and you need to listen to me because reasons. And then she goes and kills herself using the Holdo maneuver, and we're supposed to give two shits, and I don't, because she wasn't a character. She was a thing that showed she was an obstacle for a couple characters for a couple scenes, and then she died. So it's like, okay, it was like Phasma, right? Phasma. Hey, here's the Platinum Stormtrooper. Okay, she's gonna fight Finn for all of 5 minutes, and then she's gonna fall into a fiery pit and supposedly die. Oh,
Okay.
I guess that was it then. Great. Moving on down the line then. It was like, if I'm not invested, if I don't care about the character, I'm not going to care about any of the sub characters that are related to them, right? And it's like, and that's, it goes back again to like so much of this stuff where they're so busy trying to get to where they want to get that they're not spending the time getting there, right? They're not focused on the journey. They're just focused on the destination, and that's what's kind of screwing them.
Right. It's also like they use Jar Jar Binks as the archetype entire third trilogy there.
You know, if they had had the balls, the brass swinging balls to have
Clackers
in episode 9, and instead of it being Palpatine, it turned out that Jar Jar had become the new emperor of the New Order, and it was actually him the whole time. Dude.
Yeah.
You know what? That would be the payoff. That would be a great payoff.
Come epically.
Okay. So
those are no expect me.
So here's the thing about that though. You got Ryan Johnson still sitting there talking about how he can't fathom making a movie and not having his fans or the people who watch this movie being either loving or hating it, completely divided. And the fact that like he used all this stuff to be like to make him have like strong skin through all the hate and everything he was getting on Twitter. And I'm like, if you had the balls to pull that off, have Jar Jar be the emperor and that he was the big bad in this, we would have stand up, even though it was horrible. We'd be like, wow, this is
It turns out that Jar Jar knew that Rey was going to be the one to bring him down, and so he was actually the one who abandoned her on Tatooine, right? Like he like murdered her. He's the one who like murdered her parents and dropped her off there and abandoned her there so that she would never be found again. And it's because Jar Jar is that dumb that he didn't really think the fact that Anakin also came from Tatooine. He just had like a floating thought in the back of his mind, oh yeah, I should drop her off at Tatooine, right? Kind of like a funny little in-joke to himself. And then that's what comes back to bite him in the ass. Dude.
Yeah. And
like,
he totally misses the fact that Luke was hanging around for a while. And
yeah.
You know.
If they had just had the balls to go full Jar Jar, those movies would have been epically, horrifically, and hilariously awesome. They would have been terrible.
Just have him be in the background through the original 3. All you gotta do is, do like a little, go back and do another series of edits like the 300 or 400 that Lucas did with the exploding Death Star where there was a big explosion, and have Jar Jar go, "Ooh, what's this button do?" And boom, blow up the Death Star.
It wasn't Luke, it was Jar Jar the whole time.
Yeah, it was Jar Jar the whole. It was.
There's one of the super Death Stars, right? Is like way off in the distance, and Jar Jar's just standing there on the bridge with the little remote control, right, to push the button to blow up the Death Star. Yes. Again, horrible missed opportunity.
Exactly. And then you could have a great theme song. It was Jar Jar all along.
That's right.
Right. You hear me, Disney? You lost it. You missed the opportunity. Gone.
Dude, it would have been
gone.
That would have been fantastic.
And that's our shit. We came up with that.
Yeah, could you imagine like at the end it wasn't Rey who beats Jar Jar, it was Mecha Saboba. After him being blown up at the pod race.
It's the lower half of Darth Maul. just comes around kicking him.
Just the robot legs.
Just goes around kicking him until he's done.
I'd be there for it. I'm down with it.
Absolutely, man. Now that's storytelling. Come on. Take all your broken pieces and Land of Misfit Toys them things into a Star Wars trilogy, I'll pay you double money for. Hello.
Right.
So instead of that's pod racing, that's storytelling.
No, man. There'd be no pod racing. No pod racing.
No, but that's what Anakin says. Now this is pod racing, so this is storytelling.
That's right, man.
Wow.
Oh, geez, we went off the rails so fast. I think this whole episode's been completely off the rails.
No, we've actually had some structure.
Oh, no, we
started off with book adaptations into
Meandered into zombies.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Meandered off.
The thing could be absorbed or could absorb some.
Last Action Hero could be anything.
We started talking about the Thing. Then we started talking about Hellraiser.
Mm-hmm.
Then we went into the Last Action Hero. Then we've come back
That's when it went off the rails.
Hey, here's a joke, or just something funny. Like what if Sam Witwicky had the cube plus the Allspark, and he goes, "Oh yeah, here you go," and it's a freaking Megatron.
Inserted the remote configuration into Megatron. That would have been a very different.
Yeah. Megatron's head goes bald, and all of a sudden, a bunch of spikes come out of it.
Junie.
Oh, they're remaking Hellraiser with a lady.
Yes.
Yeah. Man, yeah. I just want to see now. All I want from this world now at this point is to see Megatron in a gimp suit, because that's what that would look like, right?
Which version? The movie version, or the original cartoon version when he becomes Galvatron?
Yes, just yes.
He looked like he was in drag.
There you go. We can totally remake the Transformers '86 movie as Hellraiser with Transformers. Instead of it being Unicron, it's Pinhead, but it's just a flying ball with spikes.
No. So Unicron would be
Unicron would be the hero in that movie. Holy crap!
Unicron would be the engineer, the weird giant floating black diamond thing that went around in the sky, right? So yeah, Galvatron would have to be Pinhead, right? Absolutely. How would that Starscream would be Chatterbox, right? The one with the teeth the whole time.
Just put the chatter teeth in Starscream.
That's right. Yeah, man. Absolutely.
Oh man,
I'm horrified of this, but at the same time, I kind of want to see it.
Make Shockwave the radio and the anything movie.
Soundwave would be like the Cenobite from like the 4th or 5th movie that had the CDs and DVDs like all embedded in his body.
Okay, yeah, that's fair.
And that's what he would do. Just be flinging like horrible discs at everybody, cutting everything in half.
Oh, like that Jet Li movie.
What was it?
The one, wasn't it?
Huh?
Wasn't it the one, that Jet Li movie where he was? No, wait, it was oh god, Jet Li. He did a superhero movie. It was like a version of Kato, but he had blank CDs. He was chucking at everybody and killing them.
I think it was just called Black Mask or something like that.
Okay, that might be it.
Yeah, the one was just Jet Li doing multiverse Highlander.
Yeah, that's all the one was.
Yeah, it was Highlander, but if you were hunting all yourselves across the multiverse. It was funny. So speaking of the multiverse and Highlander, I was watching. YouTube decided to feed me, I guess because I complain so much. Feed me a video where this guy did a 6-hour long video breaking down Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness.
Oh no,
dude, it's impressive. Like some of the stuff he points out, it didn't really click. Like, so there were some like nice subtle hints that were actually pretty cool little moments, like the fact that Defender Doctor Strange uses an entirely different type of magic. Mm-hmm. Right? Like all of his magic is colored blue and crap like that. Just little things I didn't really notice or pay that close of attention to. But some of the, like, when he starts going into all the different things that movie does that don't make sense, right? Like they're in a rush to go get the Book of Ashanti, and then they get into that world, but they don't bother to shut the door to keep Scarlet Witch from getting through because she wouldn't be able to get through. And then they just kind of all stand there looking at the Book of Ashanti. They don't like haul ass over to go get it and start using it. They just kind of like, oh hey, we're here now. Let's stand around and talk for. But one of the cooler things that they brought up, and it would have been a really awesome way to do that movie, was instead of having America Chavez be the one to beat Scarlet Witch, America Chavez, once she came into her power, should have gone and like summoned a bunch, like tons of variants of Doctor Strange, and used all those different variations of him to fight Scarlet Witch. I was like, that would have been badass.
Yeah.
That would have been really cool. But oh well.
Yeah. Speaking of
6 hours to burn. I forget. I think the guy's name is Mahler.
Mm-hmm.
And if you've got 6 hours to burn and you want a decent laugh and something to make you go, wow, that movie did kind of suck, go check out his 6 hour breakdown of the Multiverse of Madness.
There's your shout out for the week.
So I gotta say, because I didn't talk about it on the podcast, but yeah, we finally got to watch Lightyear. That's a fantastic movie. And Socks is the best character in that movie, hands down.
As I said before, I don't understand how Socks is not the Turbo Man to Buzz's booster in the Toy Story. If that movie is what inspired Andy to go buy, like, to want to go get the Buzz Lightyear toy, I was like, that doesn't make sense.
It is, though.
Supposedly, but it also doesn't make sense because what, Zord or whatever the hell his name is, the villain that he turns out to be doesn't make sense with the origin that we got from him in Toy Story 2, where he says that he's Buzz's father and all the other stuff. It's like, but if this is the movie that is the basis for all that stuff, then
so
why is he completely different? If you were to tell me, hey, this is the prequel movie, or this is a sequel movie that came later, it's like, oh, okay, I understand that. But the fact that it's like, no, this is the movie that established it.
Well, because like, there's the, if you watch the original cartoon, I actually watched a thing about it. He tells Buzz, yeah, I'm your father. And he's like, really? No, I'm just joking. And he starts beating on him in the cartoon. So it's all been played, like they've made this whole joke. It was just supposed to be this whole thing of like, because they were toys. They didn't know any better with the toy part.
Yeah.
So my thing, and you just recently watched it. I haven't gone back to rewatch it. The thing so I was expecting a completely different movie out of Lightyear. So the one that we got, I thought was kind of a weak version of what I was hoping we were going to get. I was hoping that Buzz's time skip was going to happen much earlier in the movie. I thought that the first time he went to go do his flight, that he was going to come back, and after detonating the core, and once he landed on the planet, it was going to be in the far future, and it was going to be him trying to figure out what was going on, learning the new team, all that stuff. But then we meander for like a good I remember how long it took. It felt like forever of the beginning of that movie, where it's like, oh hey, we got to watch him fail like 50 million times.
Yeah,
trying to do this. Let's just get to the after part, right? Because what didn't make sense to me was they needed to create hyperdrive fuel for their big ass colony ship, but then whenever he went out and did that whole thing, they all of a sudden realized, oh yeah, by the way, doing hyperspeed travel causes you to age at a different speed than us. It's like, you didn't know that already? Like, you weren't aware of the fact that was a problem? How is it that your ship, the one that you're building this fuel for, supposedly, I guess, runs on a hyperdrive, but y'all didn't know how time dilation with hyperdrives worked?
There's not even anything on the computer about it. The other thing too was like, when I remember seeing the trailers, I thought it was like Buzz's first mission, like he was a cadet and then working his way to becoming, because there wasn't really much in the trailer that kind of gave the whole thing about time travel and all the other stuff until like I guess the second or third trailer for it.
Yeah, it was later on whenever you
Yeah.
started seeing that. Yeah, there was going to be this time change element that was going to go into it,
Mhm.
and I thought that would have been a really cool way to go after it, right? And then instead of showing him constantly coming back after his failures, instead I thought after thinking about it after watching it, I was like, what they should have done was he should have come back. Maybe they find the base in like ruins almost, and there's like just a small pocket of humanity that's still kind of around and kicking on this planet, and after all the fauna and everything has gone hostile against them, and he goes into his room, and that's where he finds Socks, and Socks would have a recording of his friend from the past, and she had been recording different moments throughout her life to share with Buzz because she knew that it was going to take him, like, she was probably going to be dead by the time he got back. And that's how you would get all of those little bitty moments that Buzz got with her, those little relationship building things. And then at the end of it, when Socks wakes up, like, and she explains that, they had to start diverting more and more of their resources to other things. But
Mhm.
she specifically set Socks to trying to figure out, like, make sure that the formula for the hyperdrive fuel was correct. So that by the time it comes back around and Socks wakes up, Socks is like, hey, they figured out, X number of years after you went, that the hyperdrive fuel wasn't going to get you to the amount of speed that it needed. But now I have the formula, and then it would turn into them to go gather the resources to create the right formula, right, to be able to gather the remaining bits of humanity and get off the planet. It's like that would have been cool.
Well,
Instead
it would
of
have been RPG too.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean, I just, man, the beginning of that movie, it was weird. It started off well, like the very beginning, whenever they're originally land on the planet and they're doing all the fighting and stuff. I like that. Then there's the whole building up part of all the failures and all that stuff where it just kind of dragged, and then you get into, man, they need to stop screwing around with time travel, because I swear to God, no one knows how to mess with it. Because it's like, okay, the villain comes back in time, but the events that caused him to become who he is don't happen. So do we have differing? Are we getting to multiverse territory? Are we getting into, like,
Yeah.
the grandfather clause is screaming at the top of its lungs at this movie, and it's just, I get it's a kids movie, right? Kids don't care about that, but as a grown up watching it now, I'm like, yeah, that I don't. Why would you have gone this route with this movie? You could have told it differently.
Mhm.
You could have told the same thing, gotten to the same point, and not done this weird time travel bullshit with it that kind of started messing it up for me. I was like, the more I got into it and I started again, like with the hyperdrive thing, the more I thought about it, I'm like, this doesn't make sense, and I don't know why you're doing it this way, and you're just wasting time. You're wasting time explaining all this other bullshit when you could be focusing it more on these characters and building them up better and giving them more time and fleshing them out more, instead of having to spend all your time busy working your way through all this other crap. And
Yeah.
like, it
Well,
wasn't terrible, but I'm probably never going to go back and watch it.
if you do go back and watch it, when he does the actual jump, there's like two different bursts,
Yeah.
and that's where the split was. That's supposed to represent like when time diverged.
But the reason why it diverged is because the future person comes back and is already screwing with the timeline, right? Because he lands and the people come out and go after Buzz, and that causes the reactions that leads to the villain. But because the villain's already there when he lands, the timeline's already screwed. So again, is it and so it is this a new universe? Or have we diverged, right?
They
Are we
diverge. I mean, from what I was reading, when he does that first jump, there's two bursts on each side of him, and those are the splitting of the two timelines.
But that's not where the divergence actually happens with what goes on in the story. The point at which their two stories break apart is his successful trip.
Exactly. That's what I'm talking about. His successful trip is where it diverged at, and
Yeah.
you notice there's a visual cue that shows that there's something there, and I didn't notice it until I went back and looked.
But again, the only reason why there's a difference is because the person in the future is already screwing with it. If the person
True.
with the future is never there, then the same thing happens, and that person goes on to go do their stuff. But because he's the guy from the future is already there screwing with things, that's why it's diverted. I don't know, man. That's why, again, just don't mess with time travel. Just tell a cool sci-fi story and leave time travel out of it. Because I swear to God, nobody knows how. I always think back to going to Rian Johnson, right? I always go back to Looper, where who is it? Jeff Daniels makes the comment about, all this time travel stuff will fry your brain like an egg. It will. That's why you should just not mess with it.
Fair.
Love of God. I mean, like I said, it's not the worst movie I've ever seen. It had its moments. It was okay. Socks was the best part of it, and Future Socks getting crushed was some bullshit.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've kind of seen it. Both of the kids were okay with it, but like shortly after that, we went and watched Sea Beast, and we were all like, "This is so much better," and came away with that. So I probably am never going to go back and watch it. The kids might go back and rewatch it. I don't know. There's better sci-fi stuff out there, but whatever.
I mean, hey, it's not as bad as people are sitting there making it out to be, and that's my thing.
No, it wasn't a horrific giant dumpster fire that everybody seemed to be thinking that it was. It just
it's not The Last Jedi or Rise of Skywalker.
Yeah. Oh,
I mean,
speaking of Last Jedi,
oh God,
I have to say it because literally this just popped up on my Facebook feed. The Last Jedi director, Rian Johnson, is still perfectly happy with The Last Jedi. Yeah. Knowing how divisive his middle installment was, he is prouder of it than ever.
Yeah. Yeah, man.
That's a dumpster fire.
Look, props to Rian Johnson. He made a thing and he owns it, right? He believes in it full force, full-throated, wholeheartedly, however else you want to put it.
Well, he took all of it somewhere.
It was his vision, and he got to put it out there. And there are some people that just die on the hill of that movie, and other people that want to throw it out with all the bathwater, right? So I mean, hey, props to him for standing by his work and all that stuff, right? It's like with the Resident Evil thing, right? You feel bad that somebody spent time and you had all these actors that went in and spent tons of time trying to put something together that they thought that you hope that they believed in it, right? That they had some kind of idea or belief that, hey, we're telling a good story, we're doing something good with this, and it just didn't land, right? But you gotta at least give them some props for at least going out there and trying something, even if it was horrifically misguided and terrible in the end. But at least you owned it.
Well, consider the fact that if we had the money to do that in the production, it would have been the best Resident Evil movie that would have been adapted.
Until the studios came in, kicked us out, brought their people in, reshot a bunch of stuff, added in a bunch of nonsense, and then screwed it over in the end anyway, but still attached our names to it. Yeah, sure. Ours would be perfect, except for all the rest of that stuff.
Yep.
Yeah, man. I don't know. I need to look to see what upcoming movies and stuff are coming out. It's been a while since I've seen about what's coming up. It's weird, man. There's so little that I look out and I'm legit excited for, right? At least off the top of my head. It's like, I mean, it's like the Rings of Power stuff, right? Like I wish I could be excited for it, but so many of those shows, even though they've dumped all this money and time and stuff into it, just in the back of my head somewhere, I always hold on to this pessimistic thought of, man, this is probably gonna be garbage. Just somewhere deep down, I'm just like, this is probably not gonna be good. At best, it's gonna be mediocre. And who knows? Maybe it'll surprise everybody, right? I doubt it, but
is it bad that like the only thing I care about is like what One Punch Man season 3 and John Wick movie 4? That's about it right now.
Right. I mean, with John Wick 4, man, like I think the fifth one is supposed to be the last one, right?
Yeah.
They need to end it. They legit need to end it. Like I love John Wick. The first movie is fantastic. The second two are good. They're not as great as the first one to me. But it's getting to the point where you're stretching it a little thin. And then they've got the Continental TV show, which hey, I don't know if Lance Reddick's going to be in that one. I hope to God he is, because dude, he was awesome.
His
in
character's
John
great in that. Yeah, exactly. And that's the
Like,
thing is,
if he wants to go and be, all bladed out, just kicking ass, go do it in the Continental, dude. I'll watch that. I'll watch that all day long. If he wants to just run around with shotgun, taking out assassins who decided to like spill their coffee on the rug or whatever, do it. I'll watch that all day long. It'd be great. Just have him walking around with John Wick's dog, right, cleaning up after it. I'll watch it all day long. It'd be awesome.
yeah, the only way that like this is going to end is either he's going to take out the whole hierarchy of everything for the assassins, or he'll just come back, be a hitman again,
No, see,
or
what
he'll
I
end up
want-
dying.
what I want him to do is since we got the shitty live action Bebop, right? I want to see Wick go full Real Folk Blues Part 2 and just like go into the stronghold of some major mob boss that is like the final boss holding out for him, right? And him fight his way through this just like raid style, right? Just fight his way a gauntlet through a building and then just take out the bosses, but then him die in the end anyway. Just go full Spike. That'd be badass. That's at this point the only way it ends is with John dying.
Unfortunately, and then you can do is like, oh yeah, hey, we can do a little bit of Crow here, and he comes back to no.
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 I want them to go full Bebop. Just
Yeah, no, I know.
give us what everyone was hoping for like 2 decades, and us see Keanu Reeves is basically Spike at the end of that movie, and just have him just murdering his way through tons of assassins and mafiosos, get up to the top of it, blow the top off of a building, get into this epic one-on-one fight with I don't even care who, and then just end it with the two of them dusting each other and him collapsing to the ground and having like one last memory of his wife, and then just fucking roll credits. I'd
have it where his dog walks up to him and stuff and just sits with him as he dies.
More like just comes up to him and pisses on his head as he's laying there.
You didn't feed me for the last 4 hours. You've been going around kicking ass in this building.
Keep going around killing all these people and doing all this stuff in the previous dog's name, and what do I get? Nothing. Piss.
No, that dog will be excited. He'll get to hang out with Lance Reddick all day long. It'll be great. Man, I need to go back and rewatch. I need to go back and rewatch Real Folk Blues.
I want to recognize my buddy Retro Ryan. Check out his channel. He's been doing really cool like these compilation videos of different things from the 80s, the things that we cherish and remember back then. Old TV shows, old cartoons, old commercials. He also has a Twitter account, and I think he's sitting at almost 8K in subscribers with what he's been doing on there. So check him out. But everyone, we hope you enjoyed this episode of the podcast. We went over a lot of stuff. It was fun. I needed this laugh. The guys needed this laugh. We'll catch you next week. I hope you all have a great one. Catch you later.